have Omaha's only operating cocktail drive-thru, which once you try it, it's very addictive. You can get drinks to go or show up with a party pack to the barbecue, and you're gonna have a lot of new friends. Well, I would say it was inspired by a desire to have a location that focused seasonal ingredients and specifically on cocktails, but we wanted it to be conversational, an eclectic environment that reflected the diversity of the neighborhood and really focused on local art. I came from special needs adult education, and so I would bartend or wait tables on the side, and then I just kind of got more and more interested in it and better at it the longer that I did it. And so I wanted to bring those skills to Omaha and really showcase some of the craft cocktails that we could make with local ingredients and regional spirits. Discussions for it started in 2018 and we opened March 2019. I worked with a friend of mine, Ryan Ellis, who is a real estate developer in town who takes historical care of the neighborhoods that have been abandoned. And this was one of our favorites since childhood. It's an old immigrant neighborhood with huge trees, wide streets, and it had been basically abandoned. You know, there was empty storefront after empty storefront. And he brought it to my attention and showed us these two little houses who have been here since the early 1900s, and we thought we could maybe bring some life back into the neighborhood. We had one full year of uninterrupted service. Things were beautiful, 2019, and then 2020 hit, so we were mandated closed out of respect for the COVID health requirements. But we still had employees that we needed to take care of and we wanted to stay in business. So we did two things. We opened a drive-thru, and we were fortunate in that we had windows facing an alley. We threw up a menu on the side of the building and opened our windows and continued to sell to-go drinks through that whole year. So our bartenders come together, we use things that are in season and then also drinks that we're interested in, and we pitch drink ideas. So last night we pitched drink ideas. This morning I got up, worked on my computer, refined some drinks, named the drinks, laid out the menu. We're gonna do a Bob Ross themed menu, so I spent an hour looking at different pictures of Bob Ross paintings and like workshopping his afro into the menu. And then I did payroll. I sent some detailed responses to our accountant. I messaged back and forth with a couple of vendors about products that were in stock. And then I came here and set up for doing some social media, some marketing. After this, I'll test more liquor, which I know sounds like, ooh, tough job. But after a while, you get really tired. So I'll test more spirits, and then I'm going to go home and continue to work on the menu. So that includes like updating the buttons in the computer, make sure the pricing is not obnoxious, so it's not $10.03, but it's still fair to the customer. You've got to take the good with the bad, and there'll be the things that I find less interesting are just as necessary as the ideas that are really inspiring, but you can't just delegate all of the fun stuff, and you can't just take all the fun stuff for yourself. So I like to figure out what my employees like to do and give them a balance of that. And so I would say take on a workload that's pleasing to you, understanding that you're going to have some tasks that you don't prefer, and then open up opportunities for areas that you're passionate in, because you're just automatically going to excel. We succeeded really quickly through our social media, and part of the reason for that is we're just authentic. I think that people are really savvy, in the area of social media and TikTok, where a lot of people are creators now, so they're really good at sniffing out if you're being fake or, just the like, bye. You really have to know what your customer wants, and that's by like really understanding what appeals to you. So I would just say get ready to work hard and don't be afraid to ask for help. And you have to be as authentic to yourself. Knowing yourself is going to make you very successful. By the time the pandemic hit, and then there was some real serious stress in terms of, we're a tiny house bar as advertised, so there was no real ethical way to continue to have people inside. So we chose a more difficult route, and in that I gave the bartending shifts that were available to the staff who needed to remain employed, and then I took on a more meta role. But what that did is it ultimately drove business because I was able to come up with creative solutions. So the pandemic brought all sorts of challenges that I think would be, in another instance, once in a lifetime challenges. You know, one of my friends who also owns a business said the last 3 years of the business world have been more difficult than his first 5 together. First, we couldn't have people physically in our business, so we had to figure out a way to do business without people in the business. And then, now how do you get people back in the business? No business owner wants to turn people down, but we didn't accept anyone inside until our staff was vaccinated. So now, then you get the people back in the business. So now people are kind of inching their way back up, but inflation has hit people really hard. They have less disposable income, so it's trying to hit a pricing sweet spot. And then during the pandemic, lots of people left the service industry. You know, there's a staffing crisis that's ongoing, and that's because, you know, the wage in the service industry is low. We're historically uninsured, and then now supply issues. So, you know, for a while very hard to get things from Italy, and then now can be very hard to get things from Mexico for a while, and then it'll be, you know, things you never anticipated running into shortages of. So kind of hit the 1, 2, 3 like trifecta of like customers, you know, retraining customers, and then staffing issues, and then now supply issues. So I honestly feel like it's become really hard to predict. You know, generally you have 3 years of business, you can look at your sales and be like, okay, we'll probably do about this weekend. I don't know. I really don't know. Sometimes it's like everybody left the house, and then sometimes, you know, on a night you could be historically busy, it's a ghost town. It's still very much up in the air. Yeah. You know? One thing that I wanted to make sure in Tiny House was that everybody knew that they were welcome, and that we catered to people of all sorts in the neighborhood. So, you know, Nebraska can be quite conservative, and they tend to you know, want people to fit into one box. But more and more, there's all sorts of different types of people in Omaha, and we found the audience to be super welcoming. You know, I go into all sorts of different types of business, and you know, whether it's from the music we play to the drinks that we name to using little Spanish words in our menu inside and outside, we want the community around us to know that we are representing a diverse variety of perspectives, and that they're welcome to come in here. One of the initiatives that we set up during the pandemic was an outdoor movie theater. So it was a way that we could entertain people, socially distance, and we've just kept it rolling. And so we thought a fall horror movie festival to kick off the spooky season would be a great way to get initiated. And one thing I wanted to bring to Nebraska was just celebrating this winter culture that we have. I feel like if you go to Minnesota or you go to like Scandinavia, they embrace the 6 months of winter that they have. So I wanted to do something that would sort of celebrate the outdoors and continue to get people outside. And that ended up being a really beneficial experience during the pandemic, because people who were quarantining together could go out there and be isolated and have an experience outside of the house. Or if you're like celebrating something, you know, a lot of people are around the holidays or their families are getting together, you can do like a champagne toast. But we have a special menu for the holidays, and I feel like that experience it's super cool. We have all these fairy lights in there and ornaments, so it just gives you all of that kind of winter nostalgia.